Nepal-China relations among us, and then we will be able to work together and further consolidating the relationship for the betterment of the people of both the countries. Today, the topics is the new dimension of Nepal-China relations. Forget about the past history, and it is based on that historical the events or the activities or the historical facts. History is the basis upon which we can build up the new relations. The Nepal-China relations are time-tested, long and historic, has thousands of years of history. The relationship between two countries goes back to centuries through the people-to-people exchange and cultural cooperations or cultural relations. That started long back than the political relations that we established diplomatic relation in 1955. During the period of 5th and 6th century, we can say that we have the best ever relationship between two sides, and until the 17th or 8th century. And by that time, we enjoyed the growth prosperity across the Himalayas. And again in the 13th and 12th and 13th century, the relationship further intensified. In the 17th century and also the further intensified. I would like to quote the Dor Bahadur Pista, noted the anthropologist of Nepal, Dor Bahadur Pista, who has written that until the 17th century, the largest number of Nepalese outside Nepal were in the Tibet Autonomous Region of China, present Autonomous Region of China, and the largest numbers of foreigners that stayed in Nepal were the people from the PR. That was the magnitude of the relationship between two sides. And the last 200 years, the relationship remained a modest level. I should say the modest level, not only with Nepal, maybe with all the South Asian countries, between China and South Asia, because that it was the period of the emerging of the Western powers. The relationship was centric towards West, not to the North and South, not among the Asian nations. That applies to China and India, that applies to other Southeast Asian nations in China, and that applies to China and East Asian countries. But looking back to the histories, and what we can say that it was a period of the Western countries' development booming, and then the 21st century, we're talking about the Asian century, that the economies of Asian economies are emerging, rising, with the most vibrant economies, most vibrant populations, and the most young and dynamic populations, particularly in South Asia, and the robust economic growth until before that COVID-19 that occurred. This has given a new dimension and a new kinds of impetus in the relationship between two sides. The relationship between the North and East. There is a noises, no? Is that okay? There is a kinds of the new expectations and the new hope that arises in this region of the world, particularly in the Asian regions, and then more so in the North and East Asia to the South Asia and Southeast Asia, more interactions, more economic activities, and then more cooperations. These are the potentialities that we see. That's why the states and peoples are trying to reorganize their, redefine their relationship, and reassure their kinds of the opportunities, to ensure that opportunities that they can benefit from those opportunities. Under those circumstances, the diplomatic relationship, after the establishment of diplomatic relationship, there were transformative changes that taken place in Nepal, and also the profound changes that taken place in China in the last 65 years of the diplomatic relations. This year is the 65th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations between Nepal and China. A lot of things has happened. I don't want to go details on that. Just I will take the reference point of the 2019 with some background information of 2016 and 17 when we signed the Belt and Road Initiatives Agreement with China. And then I will try to see the prospects of the relationship in the new perspectives in the new dimensions. Particularly when the President Xi Jinping visited in October 2019 to Nepal, the state visit, one of the most successful historic visit, and the earlier the President Vidya Devi Bhandari of Nepal's president paid a state visit to China in the April 2019. These both the head of the states exchanges within the 8 months of gap has heralded a new era of cooperation. Not only the visit, the understanding reached during those periods, agreements signed during that period and before that period, and prospects and opportunities that arises because of the political changes, socioeconomic transformations in both the countries. These are the circumstances or preconditions that gives us ample opportunities to see the prospects of cooperation for improving the living conditions of the people across the Himalayas. During that President Xi Jinping's visit, we've signed several agreements, and we reached an understanding that we should elevate our relationship to the strategic cooperative partnership, featuring everlasting friendship for prosperity and development. Our whole focus of our cooperation would be on development and prosperity, not any other things. That is what the central message that the President Xi Jinping's visit has given. And the earlier that when the President Vidya Devi Bhandari visited China, signed several agreements. Apart from that, Zhang Shubin also mentioned that we concluded the transit protocol. Nepal was a landlocked country, particularly dependent on a single country for the transit from the outside world, connecting outside world for its economic activities, particularly trade activities to India. But after that, signing this transit protocol with China, the new avenues has opened up for exploring the possibilities of utilizing the country for the third country transit as well. Although this transit cannot be the replacement of the Indian transit facilities that we have been receiving at present. We have been using this until these days, because the infrastructure part of the infrastructures need to be upgraded, and then we have to use and calibrate the needs and we have to see maybe that there might be some difficulties that we may face in the future. We have to see, and then by actually practicing it, actually using practically using this route, and then what sort of the difficulties that we may face, how much it cost effective, how can make it more efficient and convenient and appropriate. These are the things that we have to see again, because it's a very primary stage, but it has opened up. It has opened up, and then it is an opportunity. And Dr. Pramod, you have a lot of questions, a lot of issues that we have to cover up in today's discussions. Maybe all of the issues may not have sufficient time to cover up all the issues in such a single sitting of conference, even if done through the internet. But I would like to flag on some of the points. You mentioned about the railway project. Railway project, though I'm not technician, but what I heard from the experts and technicians that it is possible, and it is feasible also. Feasible in terms of that, if you talk about the financial rate of return, no any single highway, and the Professor Sang was talking about the highway from Viratnagar to Itari, or we are now expanding the east-west highway, the Mahindra highway back from 2-lane to 4-lane. But these roads are also, if you talk about the financial rate of return, that is not feasible, because that big infrastructures in a country like Nepal cannot be assessed on the basis of the physical financial rate of return alone. But if you talk about the strategic importance, particularly for the international cooperation, not very other regions, strategic means it is for the development cooperation, particularly international transit facility that we have been getting from China as well. We've signed the transit protocol. To fully operationalize the transit facilities, we must have railway line. Without railway line, without railway facilities, we cannot fully utilize it, because it is a long way. It is not a short route. It is not a 100 or few hundred kilometers. It should be several thousand kilometers long. That's why to fully utilize, make it efficient and the convenient and the economically feasible, there must be a modern logistic facilities across the transit way corridor. That is the railway line. Without railway facilities, we cannot. That's why railway is a lifeline for international connectivity. And then talking about its rate of return, if we talk about the economic rate of return, there definitely would be the feasible project would be feasible. Its economic benefits are enormous. Even if you talk about the tourism, the Trans-Himalayan Railway would itself be the world's one of the most attractive tourism product. The people would love once in their lifetime to cross Himalayas by railway. That's why it will be a dream project for the tourism. The tourism itself will sustain at least this railway project. I'm confident. This is my based on my experience of working with the public and private, traveling across the world, and then I can definitely say that the project is feasible. We must do it. And then why it is being a little bit delayed, as Pramod was mentioning that the railway connectivity from India side is faster. The topography, you see that. And then the investment that we have made, the commitment we have made, and the investment we have made, that is the reason for the railway connectivity to China. And if you see the Nepalese perspectives also, from the Nepalese part also, no, still we don't have even that the project office particularly for this project. And then if you talk about the fully funded project and then compare with Araniko Highway, I'm not against the fully funding of it. And then if you say that whole grand project, it means that you don't have priority. If Nepal has a priority, and then Nepal should be ready to contribute its part. Not necessarily that whole funding is possible from Nepalese treasury at this moment, but whatever possible, if Nepal can fund the 10%, if Nepal can fund 15% or 20% of the project cost, Nepal should ready to show its willingness. If it is a priority project, Nepal must allocate it. This is not a very, very big project. It's about the Budi Gandaki hydropower project. The cost of Budi Gandaki hydropower project and the railway project from Kerung to Kathmandu is more or less same. That's why it is not undoable. It is doable project. It is feasible, it is doable, it is necessary. It is necessary for the international connectivity. It is necessary for transit. Landlocked countries can connect with the outside world through only two means, that is by air connectivity or through by railway connectivity. The bus service or car service is not for the long transit haul. It is for a few hundred kilometers. That's why if you want to connect with the outside world, you have the only choices to connect by either railways or by the air connectivity. By air connectivity, there is a limitation. It cannot connect the different places. It can connect, it is a point-to-point connection only. It is not a through connection. And then second, it can connect, it is very expensive. And it cannot handle the bulk cargoes sometimes. That's why it is not for the mass level communications and connectivity. That's why if we want to connect a landlocked country to the outside world, there is no alternative of railway. And that's why it is the most important project for Nepal. We must do it. We must take it as a priority project. We must allocate our resources and human resources and financial resources. We must show our commitment. We should not be divided. Nepalese people, some political parties, some leaders are divided, and then they were talking about road and road. Road is not an alternative of railway. Railway is not alternative of roadways. Railway is for different purposes. It's for long haul transit and trade facilities. It's for the international connectivities, global connectivities, and then bus or the other highways are for just the border connectivity. Through bus, you cannot imagine of connecting Russia or going to the Seoul or the Hanoi. But by through railway, you can talk on that, because these days China and Europe has the several thousand railways every year moving from China to Europe and Europe to China. If we connect with China, Chinese railway, we can reach to Europe and then we can connect with the Europe. That's why railway is not a project like that you can compare with any other projects. It is the national priority, must allocate some resources, do on a time-bound basis, show our solidarity, should have the single voice, no undivided voice, because this is not a project like that connecting two cities. It's not like a project like that having a hydropower for the few 100,000 kilowatts of the electricity. It's a project of connecting Nepal to the outside world, to the Europe, to the East Asia, to the Central Asia, to the West Asia. That's why Nepal has no choice at all. It's a landlocked country. We must be connected by railways. This is on railway issue. And then you also talk about the BRI. And then if I don't see that there is any interruptions in our cooperations in the BRI framework. Nepal has a full commitment on the participation and then working together with BRI. And you talk about the benefits. See about before we signed the Belt and Road Initiative project in 2017 and now, our tourism, before COVID-19, I'm talking about the COVID-19, the Nepal's tourism growth was 70%. Nepal's tourism growth was more than 70% before and after. Nepal's investment was more than 80% before and after. Nepal's development cooperation is more than 3 times before and after. Nepal's people-to-people cooperation, Nepal's political relations, the agreement we've signed, the exchanges we have made, institutional linkages we have made, the people's understanding reached. There are several benefits that we have been getting both the countries. No, the relationship is not like that before that and after that. If you compare that, that's why this has given a tremendous benefit. Don't talk about a list of few projects, infrastructure projects. The BRI is not only an infrastructure project. It is more than that. It is connecting people's mind also. It is connecting the people's attitude, behaviors. There are a lot of things. And the infrastructure too, although not very in a fast pace, we are moving towards in the right direction. Then now the time has to give more impetus, give more emphasis, and then accomplish the project on time-bound basis, prioritize among the priorities, because we have so many priorities, we may not be able to handle all the projects at a time. That's why we have to focus our priorities more so to complete the project on time and then derive benefit so that people's confidence can be boosted up. And the BRI has given a lot of benefits to us. There is no question that Nepal will interrupt on that continued cooperation in BRI. It's the government's commitment, if I understand correctly. It is just 2.5 months I left China. That's why if I understand correctly, the government is continuously work on that. Belt and Road initiatives will go on. We don't have any problem. Regarding the border issues, and the people sometimes try to drag on China on the border conflict these days, is scaled up, intensified between Nepal and India. There is no any other countries in the world when two countries have the border disputes and third country say that this border belongs to this land, belongs to this country, this land belongs to that country. No judge can any country passes the judgment. That's why it is the bilateral issue that we need to resolve it between India and Nepal. This is the debate and issue between two countries. When we resolve that bilateral matters, China comes in. Definitely China must come in to find out the tri-junction between China, India, and Nepal. At that time, we have to seek the Chinese cooperation or the Chinese participation in border issue. Not now, not now. Now it is the issue between India and Nepal. We don't have problem with China about border. Don't drag on. Don't try to create an artificial problem between China and India, and China and Nepal. We don't have any border problems. Absolutely not. There is a one border pillar. That border pillar was not located when the joint border inspection team visited all border pillars from east to west in 1987 and the 1997 and 2005. When during that time they did not find out that border pillar, that's why they created a hypothetical line between the two, the identified border pillars, and then minuted the border protocol that both the countries will, when they find the pillar, they will delineate the border accordingly, something like that. They minuted, they agreed. And then when in 2005 they inspected again, they found it was inscribed in the natural stone. It was not a border pillar actually. And then it was in a very remote, very difficult topography above the snow line. And then there was no any vegetations, no people, no any nothing. And then but they found that the natural stone scribed the border pillar number, and then which was not actually they imagined without visiting that place. That need to sort it out, and they are under consultation to finalize the agreed minutes of the border inspection. This is not a border dispute. We have the border agreement, and then it is fully agreed, and then both sides have no any kinds of the issues until now. That's why we don't want to pull China in this stage on the border dispute. Regarding that the agreement signed between China and India about the usage of the Lipu Lake for their border trade, that is Nepal has a claim over that. And that agreement was several times China and India mentioned that point in their bilateral joint communique. And then when that came into a form of the MOU in 2014, and then Nepal immediately sent its note to both the countries that that area belongs to Nepal, and then signing agreement by two countries without consultation of Nepal would be unacceptable to Nepal. That when we wrote that a letter to China, China has put that agreement in status quo. China has not. That is what China need to do. If I were a Chinese authority, I should have advised my government in that way also. And then if China changes that status quo after Nepal's diplomatic note already sent to China, then only we can say that, oh, China is not supporting Nepal. But at this moment, then we cannot have anything to say China, and then ask China to speak on the border dispute between Nepal and India. Definitely would create a further problem. These days, some of the Indian scholars, even that Indian media, are accusing Nepal that the Nepal is using China card, something like that, on that border issue. And then even if that the India is blaming on that, and then we want to pull them again, and then create a further trouble and a problem. No. We should not do that. And this is not a time to pull the China in our border disputes between India and Nepal. And that issue, that agreement issue, if China until, and then we should not, we don't have any anything to blame China until China keeps that agreement in the status quo on the date when we submitted our note, our reservation to the China. And then if, in my understanding, China has done nothing new development or the new initiatives, has not taken anything against the spirit of that Nepal's diplomatic note. That's why that is what I understand about the Lipule. I don't know about what is happening in last 2.5 months time, but I'm talking based on my own experience until that time. I don't want to talk about the Indian media's some allegations or some sort of the some hypes, created hypes on some of the issues and disputes, and then unless and until there is a government versions of India government or the government versions of Chinese government, and then I don't want to react on those any matters. And then regarding that the prospects for the corporations, post-COVID corporations, during the coronavirus events also, we have a better understanding between two sides. This has brought in because of the exchanges of the people-to-people relations, because of the exchanges of the political, economic, and all-round cultural cooperations. There was a big earthquake in China, in Sichuan, Wenchang, in 2008. At that time, too, Nepal government supported, though in a very small way, supported for the victims of the earthquake of 2018, and China appreciated at that time too. I was in China immediate after that earthquake, and then we had supported the Chinese government. But at that time there was no candle lighting in Kathmandu, because at that time we didn't have that level of people-to-people level relations. When that there was Chinese people suffered in Wuhan by the coronavirus, and then Nepalese people light a lamp, have a peace rally to show the solidarity with Chinese people. This is how that relationship has built up now. And then this is the prospects of the future cooperation that gives that the ample example of how that our deep-rooted relations are going on. And the another thing that I would like to highlight on that after COVID, post-COVID cooperation, when the coronavirus infected China the most, and the some of the media and some of the countries were smearing China, criticizing China for their action on that stern action, the very strong action they've taken to combat coronavirus, to stop the spread of coronavirus infection. And the Nepal was together with China. The embassy organized several programs, and they showed their solidarity with the Chinese people and Chinese government in their fight against the COVID-19. And when the Nepal started to suffer from the coronavirus infection, and the China immediately came up and then provided support in terms of the medical supplies and the other logistics, and also sharing experiences. There were several webinars organized between two sides to exchange the experiences from China to Nepal. And the China has said, if I understand correctly, a lot of things China has said they are ready to provide any kinds of cooperation to Nepal. That is how that relationship has built on. And the China has capability and willingness to cooperate with the outside world. China has been saying that this is a menace against the humanity. This is a common enemy. We should fight against it together. There is the virus has no race, no ethnicity, no geography. And then we should not politicize it. That is what China is saying. And then we fully honor and recognize that what they've been saying. And the virus has no border. Virus has no race, no ethnicity. And then we should fight against it. It can occur in any other parts in next time. And the near future, in the same and different way. And then we can have the different disasters, different kinds of disasters. We have to fight together. And then we have to work together. We have to show the solidarity, sympathy, compassion to the people's sufferings, rather than that the accusing each other and then creating further problems. And then it will help no one. It will further damage the world economy and the people's confidence. If we fight each other, and then people will lose their confidence. We have a great loss on economy. Even if we fight each other, and then people will suffer further suffer from the economic recession, economic downturn, meltdown. That's why the post-COVID world, the revival demands a greater solidarity among the nation states. And China is proposing the solidarity and cooperation. And then I think it is in the interest of the countries like Nepal to join hand together with China and the fight together against any human menace, and also the revive the economy. And after the coronavirus is over, the people will lose, a lot of people will lose jobs, and then there will be a crisis of supply of essentials, and maybe there will be maybe a country like Nepal will have a crisis of having the foreign currencies, and on that situation, so we need more support from the countries. And a lot of countries have suffered. Maybe the countries yesterday supported us will not be able to support because of that their own internal problems. In that situation, China is a better position because China has overcome that coronavirus, largely controlled the coronavirus with comparatively less damage and the loss of lives compared to the similar population and similar magnitude of the coronavirus pandemic in other countries. That's why China's economy is reviving fast. I saw that for the May 2020 statistics, China is approaching very near to the previous year's status, and then maybe we are hopeful that China will be able to quickly revive. And then China's revival is equally important for global economic recovery and for the recovery of the countries like Nepal. We need more cooperation in technology. We need more cooperation in financing. We need more cooperation in tourism recovery, recovery of the tourism businesses, and we need more agricultural cooperations to revive our food security, or to maintain our food security, and so on. And that's why the post-COVID cooperation between China and Nepal would be very important, vitally important, critically important for both the countries. And then the cooperation between all the countries, not only with China, maybe cooperation with all the friendly countries is essential for Nepal. But China will be more so because China has capability and willingness to support country like Nepal. And then we can bank on, we can maybe that expect more from China after the pandemic is over, in terms of the investment, in terms of the other technical cooperations and technological support, and the livelihood support, or the economic recoveries, and then trade and other kinds of activities. This is what I think. I covered all the issues you have mentioned. Dr. Pramod, if you allow me, please ask that audiences and the other participants on panelists, if they have any questions to me first, because I have to leave earlier, then I may not be able to fully participate during that interactions with Pan Kofing and other colleagues. Please allow me to request you for collecting questions and asking questions if some of the panelists or the other participants have on me, and then I would be very much happy to try to respond based on my knowledge and capabilities. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. We have got few questions. It is not directly directed to you. You may choose them and answer some of them. I'd
Okay,
also
okay,
want to request Professor Chang to note down the questions. I'll read 4 or 5 questions, and some
okay,
of them might be answered by Ambassador Saab, and some might be maybe Professor Chang can take over. First
okay.
question is like the Nepalese trade relation with China is heating up. Do you think trade relation will be disturbed given that there are allegations of China hiding information regarding the COVID? Like, will that affect the trade relation between Nepal and China? Second question is, does Tibet play a crucial role between India-Nepal relations? India-Nepal relations, does Tibet play a role? Third is like, does China have any view about implementing MCC in Nepal, especially when Nepal is already part of BRI project? So we have received these 3 questions. If you want, you can answer some. The rest of them can be answered by Professor Chang, and
Okay,
depending on
okay,
us.
okay. I would like to talk on 2 issues: that Nepal trade and the Nepal-India relations vis-a-vis Nepal-China relations. Particularly, we don't have any disturbances between the, trade between China and Nepal, but we have not opened up border fully for the bilateral trade because of the COVID pandemic. And I think after that COVID pandemic, the lockdown is over in Nepal, and then the movement between cross-border movement of goods and services would be continued as usual and would be smooth as earlier. And the trade through India too, and these days are I heard that piled up in Calcutta port because of the same pandemic problem. I don't think that we have a major issue in trade between two sides. Although we have a huge trade deficit, I must mention this in this point that we have a huge trade deficit. We have not been able to cater the need of the Chinese market, and then we also have not been able to sometimes fulfill some technical barriers of the exportation of some food items or the some items that require to go through the quarantine checks. And then we are working on that. There was a plan to hold a meeting between two sides in the month of February. Had there not been the COVID-19, between two sides meeting to resolve that outstanding issues for the trade. And the second, we have been trying to link up in the production value chain of Chinese manufacturing industries, and then bring in some manufacturing industries in Nepal, so that we can produce the quality goods as per the demand of Chinese market and the global market, to reduce the trade imbalances between two sides. These are the 2 measures that we have been trying to take up, and then signed several agreements during that president's visit, Nepal's president's China visit and Chinese president's Nepal visit, to ease out this, particularly the Nepal's export trade to China. And that's why, with that background, and then I'm confident that we'll have a more chance of exporting our trade, our commodities to Chinese market, and reduce the trade imbalances. And China's support, understanding is vitally important for us, and then we will receive a full cooperation from Chinese side. I was assured when I was there, the full cooperation from Chinese side. And then on that, that's why with the Chinese support, we've signed those agreements on the quarantine and customs and the related matters, and also the citrus fruit exportation, and so many other things that we've signed. Regarding the relationship between China and India and Nepal, and the Nepal and China, definitely the world is interconnected, and then China and India are the only bordering countries. If we have some trouble with India, definitely it will have an impact on our relationship with all other countries. What happens, you see that when China and India has not a good relations, Nepal always suffers. Because of that, both the countries try to see with a suspicion that the legitimate level of contact with each other countries would be taken as a suspicion or doubt, and then we have to always justify our legitimate level of relationship with other neighbors if they are in the very great tension. If they have the good relationship, and then it would be much more easier for us to maintain a good relationship with either countries. of course, and then we have to be on the radar and then not ignored by the big superpowers in the neighbor. But what I think is that in this interconnected world, and the impact of one country's relationship with other would have definitely ripple effects to the other countries as well. That's why we want a very good relationship between all three countries. Relationship between India and China, very good. Relationship between Nepal and India, relationship between Nepal and China, very good. So that, and then we can have the our focus, our resources, our capabilities to focus on building our development capabilities, and the building our nations on the based on our potentialities and capabilities, fully exploring and exploiting our treasures and potentials, hidden potentials, natural or the demographic advantages that we have. Under that potentialities, and the only we need to have a better understanding among us, and the cooperations and collaborations benefit all, and the conflicts or the maybe confrontations would have the loss game for all, but for all three. That is what I understand on the relationship between India and Nepal, and India and China, and vis-a-vis Nepal, India and China.
Okay, thank you, sir. You may leave if you have to go somewhere. We'll continue.